Alright, hello everyone, welcome back once again. So it was Mania 7 Key World Cup 2026. This time around, we have the last block of matches coming forward. We got two matches actually. This time around, we got Germany versus Canada and also the other matchup as well, which I think on this particular B stream, we're gonna have Hong Kong versus Spain right here, and the other A stream we're gonna have also Germany versus Canada. I am Mifa, and I'll be joining alongside Epic Man 2, who has actually commentated on the A stream before. How's it going?
Hello, yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Just going out of what was pretty much about to be a bloodbath between, Russia and also Venezuela. And now I'm back here to round out one of the final few matches that we got of this quarterfinals weekend in particular. Hong Kong and Spain are some very strong teams to be facing or down here in the losers bracket. So it's going to be heartbreaking to see one of them have to go one way or another, in my opinion. What do you think about it, Nifa?
Yeah, it's the thing about it. I think the Hong Kong versus Spain, they have been like the survivors of like the previous matches before. So it's really comes down just how unorthodox their picks are gonna be, and knowing that their protects have been it's kind of just pretty bold, I'd say. Knowing Spain's protect being Rice 6 is rare. Knowing it's usually just conventional protects out of the way, and having to protect that out of any Rice picks is definitely very bold. And Hong Kong's pretty much expected to protect LN picks, and I think LN3 would be the most obvious, but that also leaves around the other LN picks that I think Spain wants to avoid. But in that case, Hong Kong's banning Korjak, which is no surprises there, knowing Spain's ratio on Korjaks has been pretty much stellar at that point.
Yeah, this is pretty much going the opposite of kind of what I was expecting in my head, because I know that Hong Kong is a very strong team when it comes to Rice, but it does look like they actually do have a bone to pick with Spain, as well as they do get a Rice 6 Protect, which is, like you said, one of the rarest things that I've seen, or we've seen for that matter, all week. Because who in their right mind would even protect it like Glassy Heart? That map is just crazy to control.
Well, it is definitely. I think to a fault, I think Rice 6 and EX1 should be swapped, because EX1 is like the most popular. Well, I guess it's popular because of one thing is that it's just about in the realm of core stream and just a combination in between like Rice 5 and Rice 6 into that core stream, and then Rice 6 in general is just Rice 6. All things considered, is just very complex to do, and Spain protecting deck is just very bold, like I said before.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my god! Rice 6 already!
Oh my god, no! What the heck? Okay. Okay, doesn't look like
right out of the gate.
Like confident. Damn! Holy! Alright.
Never seen this pick being picked, like, even though I think we saw I think once that has been picked, but this time around having this as your first pick is just new.
Yeah, it literally hits different. This is generally how it feels to chew 5 gum, and I think that's definitely the case for Spain as well. Lucas and Summer are going to be sporting that of the Spanish for the time being, as we have the strongest Rice duo, Hong Kong's Sensegs and Zek, going to be sporting each other going into Rice 6. One of the picks that's usually picked out very late into the match as well, if you need to get a last-ditch point for either of the sides, and especially with Hong Kong being established as a really good Rice team in general. Spain is also no stranger to the Rice category in general, so the fact that they're bold enough to pick something like this, which is arguably one of the hardest regular Rice picks we have, not including EX1 for example, this is definitely going to be opening up for a bit of an interesting starting point for both of these teams in question.
Dude, like this has been said before, they should have swapped Rice 6 and EX1 in this case, because this is the pick of all time.
Yeah.
This is how rare it is.
Dude, genuinely, just the amount of wave patterns that you just have just splattered across this map. You're literally just bashing your keyboard at this point, just trying to get one thing to work the other way.
Well, so far Spain has been pretty much on point in their picking strategy. Still just about unscathed in the first quarter, but Sensex is the first drop from Hong Kong side, and actually accuracy overall is under 99, while Spain still retains the 99 lower. That is.
Yeah, it definitely looks like the performances from both teams are very consistent with one another, perhaps on different leagues, considering that Spain, both Lucas and Summit, are literally just about nearly halfway for the 99% accuracy department, whereas Sensex and Zek are just under that 99% accuracy department altogether. So probably not having the best of days with a lot of these patterns, especially the dump flowy ones, as Lucas is going to be the first one to drop on Spain, but it's too clean to be able to mean anything for the time being, unfortunately for them.
Yeah, well, it's definitely looking pretty dire. I feel like even I think there are some few drops here and there, but like how abrasive the patterns look if you just could constitute like a trail and something like that. Sensec is actually the one who's pretty much suffering right now and going to just the mid 98s here, and everything else is just around Spain different. But actually, Lucas takes a bit of a drop, which is kind of concerning. Actually, kind of closed down a little bit there in terms of difference.
Yeah, that's definitely really interesting to see in perspective, considering that we've basically seen Lucas and Summit just shredding through this entire map for just a good while, and now it does look like the scoreline has been chopped to about half of what it once was. Sensei's gonna be finding a drop, not letting it go into their favor just yet, as Zek is doing what they can to try and carry that of the Hong Kongers, at least trying to prevent them from being taken out of the tournament this early. But unfortunately, this is pretty much spelled for Hong Kong. This is going to be Spain taking their first protect and their first pick by quite a fair margin. 10,000 points, even regardless of how abrasive PWHK has put these patterns, it's Spain that's going to be capitalizing off of them at this pick. Yeah.
Yeah, this is looking very clear in Spain's favor. And you can clearly just see just about the accuracy that you really expected to see if you're not really capable of sharpshooting anything. But regardless, though, it's still a solid pick overall, I think, for Spain, which it definitely plays into the strengths of just picking the unorthodox picks in this case.
Yeah, I think definitely for Spain, they may as well just try and stick to their guns within the more unorthodox picks in general, because so far it's looked like Rise 6 has worked out in their favor really well. Even when they did show signs of faltering potentially, they did make up for it in the end by at least keeping it within a strong margin that is at least far away from Hong Kong to be able to afford at least a victory, because considering for the fact that there was a lot of inconsistency that we have seen, and just in general the nerve factor just playing into a lot of these abrasive patterns in general, as these are not easy to hit in 7 key by any means necessary, as we go into LN2 next.
Yeah, Hong Kong wasted no time and just picking up straight up LN coordination, knowing this is just, I think, played to their Hong Kong strengths, and I think they're utilizing it to a full extent.
Absolutely, and especially in points where it's going to matter, this is going to be a really strong pick for Hong Kong, in my opinion, if all things goes well, considering that this is going to be a stark contrast from what we have seen in Rise 6. You have seen the nitty-gritty of what we have in the map pool to offer, but how about we go for something more minimalistic in the sense that this is going to be something that really taxes on your nerve to actually play and act anything well. This is essentially the job that Org serves in the map pool to be able to balance things out. You need picks that can essentially bring things to something that's very control heavy, and this pick serves nothing but that in its full capacity.
Well, it serves anything if I think in terms of Olympic, this is anything but density, which to some extent I think Hong Kong really wants to tilt the scale the other way around. If they're not really comfortable in terms of density, this is pretty much their bread and butter. And just, I mean, looking at it so far, okay, like this look about 15,000 point of lead, which is in the intro, which is massive enough, knowing that Summit is pretty much tanking to just about 97 on mid-range there.
Yeah, someone's unfortunately going to be reaching the summit of a lot of these early misses going into the start of the map. We're basically just about approaching the end of the first quarter of the map where it's really just nothing that the map gives away yet. No information to be given just yet unless you basically just do what you can most of it, and if you aren't as inherently as well versed within these elements as we see Tong, Jinshi, and Zek being in, as for the time being, Zek has the highest score and the highest accuracy in the entire lobby by far, 99.70% of an accuracy. That's definitely going to set a bar for the Spanish to at least try and just, well, respond to, because clearly they don't want to vanish in this situation. Yeah.
Well, it's been pretty, well, 55,000 points away is just very convincing, knowing that there's still just the first half of it. And Zek, however, even though tank still jumps about 99.6, it's knowing 99.6 is just a good top 2% to top 3% of the entire leaderboard in terms of scoring, and it clearly shows that Hong Kong is really pretty much kind of seals the deal. Pretty much, it's now just reaching to about the 100,000 point at this point.
Yeah, exactly. I think at this point, it's just going to be nigh unrecoverable for Spain to at least try and bring things back into their favor. The tug of war has at least commended, and unfortunately, it does look like it's about 100,000 points in the favor of Hong Kong. So there's barely anything that Spain can at least bring to the table to at least try and fight back. Maybe potentially one of the players just like letting go of the keyboard, but the likelihood of that happening is just close to none.
It just keeps on growing, and I think at this point, Hong Kong still retains the 2 full combos, and Spain is pretty much having a lot of trouble, which says a lot for Hong Kong having to, at least LN4 would be very much their possible next pick, and knowing that this is just coordination and inverse, and it's even though Spain's probably not going to suffer anywhere near as this one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this pick is basically just far from gone from the clutches of Spain. So while it's pretty much just 1-1 right now as we close out the map in just a few seconds, I definitely feel like it would help for Spain to try thinking ahead for what they could potentially pick next. I would assume they probably would feel at home with something like Rice 5, perhaps, because it's pretty much the closest you could go to Rice 6, if not for at least...
that's a team score, that's a team score, all right, for Hong Kong. 2 FCs, just about the same, almost the same accuracy. I think that's probably like top 3 in terms of score, I guess, in the top team scores.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be. There's no way it's not. Oh, the good old days for Summit.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess it says a lot, and then there's a lot of 50s, and I think Alan coordination definitely does do to you. If you're at least less adept in terms of coordinating along those like that, it's pretty much a kind of a death sentence if you're not really at least if you're not adept to it that much. But Spain's pick now being the speed pick, so Rice 1 it is. It's definitely kind of a step up in terms of, just keeping up with the speed, which is pretty obvious to see where this is going.
Yeah, this is definitely like the closest that I think. Okay, so harkening back to what I was gonna think just like 10 seconds ago, maybe, or something, like Spain's pretty much well versed within the Rise category. So basing it off of Rise 6, for example, I definitely would be safe to assume that they're probably going to stick for the Rice category for a good portion of the match if they want to try and accumulate as many points as they can, because this is definitely an opponent that they need to try and stack up against when it comes to the other categories in general. As we have seen from LN2, that was clearly a very strong pick for Hong Kong in general as well. We pretty much all have just witnessed for the 50 or so people looking at the match right now. So going to be interesting to see how Speed Bomb's going to be looking, whether Spain is going to be at least trying to throw something into the fortress that Hong Kong has basically just built here.
Yeah, we'll see. Spain is going to take... What's the take on this? Because, well, Lucas still has 100% in the first 100 notes or so, and I guess there it goes. But
the
speed portion... Speed potion wise, really just it really does tell you where the dynamic is going to go from here on out.
Yeah, especially with this map being relatively straightforward, it definitely packs a punch with how incredibly dense these bursts can go, especially from having to maintain your consistency on a lot of these delay-oriented patterns for just 2 minutes straight. No punches taken or no punches being pulled at all. They're being thrown right at your nose, as it definitely looks to be quite a bit of a close one as well, as we got the Dr. Marfield in the middle.
Summit is actually just down under accuracies of Hong Kong players right here, so Lucas is able to carry that a little bit. Then there's no difference still. Since like the second is a kind of tug of war between Summit does find the first drop here, so Hong Kong still gets the advantage quite a bit there, even though they're still just about the second, I guess the last third of this now.
Yeah, that's definitely a signal that for Hong Kong, you definitely don't want. Even with Sensix taking the miss, that's basically going to be close to consequential, as Summit's already gone past the combo cap. And another miss comes out from Sensix as well. Things can be turned back for the final quarter.
There's no difference.
Just have it. No. Bro, there's no way. Back to square one we go.
One might think alike, but then Spain's take the lead just a fair bit there. Lucas is trying to out-act Zek at that point like a 0.10% right now.
Yeah, and it's still, there's only a few seconds left in the map, so wait, no, it just literally went back to Hong Kong in an instant.
The burst, take out the burst right here.
Burst. Watch the burst, watch the notes.
Oh my god,
62
points.
Yo!
Oh, that was so unfortunate. I think the accuracy drop might have been too much there for Spain to bear. And that is Hong Kong's break point. Actually, yeah, Hong Kong's break point that too.
Yeah, that's a crazy disrespectful point from Hong Kong, and a breakpoint as well. The first of many that we could be seeing in this match to be able to spell some things for the fate of Spain, as it looks like Hong Kong is going to be looking into probably going into another nerve-oriented pick. I'd say, like, because you got all the real, just raw nerve control picks out of the way, I think you could pretty much just try and go for something like the hybrid category at this point, considering that you do have quite a bunch of options within that field. Either that, or perhaps something like LN Free could be a good option if you don't want to opt in for the Rice category.
Yeah, well, it's either that or just the LN Inverse, LN4. So it's just either that or the two. Or actually, another new territory, I think, for Hong Kong now, just straying away from the LNs, trying to test the waters a little bit against Spain with this.
Yeah, the hand is in the water as we approach that of Deadline Syndrome, as it looks like Hong Kong's definitely trying to bank on some of these interesting maps to at least contest against the Spanish here, as this is one of the few rare occasions where we have seen hybrid free in a match, or at least on my end specifically, because I only have 2 eyes. I do not have, well, as many as everyone else has, unfortunately.
Well, it definitely does something to look out for, knowing this hybrid is going to open up so many opportunities for if Spain is able to break the point on this one. So it definitely matters to, I think, for Spain more, because knowing that the break point is pretty much crucial, because they got probably like 2 other options if this hybrid is definitely one for that reason. But we'll see how this actually pans out for Spain.
Indeed. First drop comes out from Summit. Not looking to be bright on these patterns. Sensex drops at the same time as well. A double miss at that, as there is a literal trade within nanoseconds of the map just simply beginning, as it's a very early lead for Hong Kong for the time being. Looking at least to be comfortable within these patterns. Zek the next to find the drop, as that's already going to be Hong Kong just being prevented from having an FC on 2 ends for the time being, unfortunately for them.
Yeah, well, no full combos in the first 30 seconds or so. So this is just about whether or not they have the at least higher combos, and then the accuracy is definitely going to carry that through. But so far, I mean, looking at it so far, is Hong Kong even doesn't have that much of a big of a lead, even still, with even though there's some trades in between like Summit and Lucas before, it's still pretty much retained to just about the 5-digit figures right now.
Yeah, it's really just about the rough starts that kind of dictate the scoreline by just a bit, as everyone is now finding some good footing. Senseis is basically just up 2,000 combo for the time being. Summit next to miss, as that's going to capitalize the Hong Kongers score once more as we approach the back half of the chart. So lots of gnarly releases and shields to be approaching going into this map if you are at least familiar with the style of Ulay's.
There goes Lucas.
Ooh, whoops.
Yeah, there goes Lucas' combo right there. So the Hong Kong is staying afloat with their much higher combos to boot, and then it's pretty safe to say that I think even with these big combos, the accuracy is definitely much superior to that point. So it really takes a lot for Spain to climb from there on.
Yeah, I think generally if Hong Kong wants to give up the score, or at least if Spain wants to try banking on that, which who knows how likely it could be, it's going to have to come down to fatigue alone for the side of Hong Kong, considering that they're already hanging on to really strong FCs on the board, and we only see nothing but misses being given out from Spain out of desperation, which is something that they don't want on a map like this, where you don't want to procrastinate on getting a good score on a map like this, where it's going to matter quite a lot in the grand scheme of things, as we're going to be approaching the second ban wave right after this is done.
Hong Kong hasn't been, well, Hong Kong hasn't been miscalculating a lot, but apparently Zek does take actually first miss after like 30,800 combo or so like that. But safe to say, Hong Kong now is actually just about a 30,000 point lead, and this is safe to say Hong Kong is definitely taking the point now, 3-1.
Hong Kong going to be clapping back once again, at least trying to continue some trend of points that they have been taking, which is definitely going to matter a lot for them, considering that we basically have to get the second bans in for now. So knowing Spain, I definitely feel like just out of the sheer confidence that they may have going into this round in general, I feel like at this point, it would definitely be most sensible for them to ban out something like LN4, for example, because Hong Kong's already established that they can at least capitalize the unorthodox picks within the non-Rice categories overall, and that's going to really escalate their efforts in being able to take this match if it does go well for them, whereas Spain does have the good majority of the Rice category to at least exhaust. There's so many options you could go for here, as 22 points comes out from Hong Kong.
Well, that's not a high roll either, so 78% chance for Spain to win that.
Yep. It's gonna have to come down to that 78.
I mean, I've seen in gacha games that 22% of a failure is pretty much possible, but it just falls into gambling's fallacy at this point. If Spain loses this one, then well, I guess tough luck.
Yeah, unfortunately, you're not gonna be pulling Hu Tao's banner at this point.
Well,
we'll just have to see whether Spain can match up to that. I don't know.
Oh, no, okay. I thought we're not. Okay. Yeah, well, there you go. Spain won the roll, so Spain's opportunity to ban, and apparently Angel Dust is the ban for Spain. Interestingly enough.
That's a bit unorthodox. This may as well just be unorthodox as Rice 6 is, because we haven't seen that Spain was doing pretty well on the Rice picks earlier, and even with Rice 1 being just insanely close by less than 500 points or so, this is... I'm not sure how to feel about the ban. I definitely feel like it would have been better spent on something like LN4, for example, in my personal opinion.
Wait, okay, if I'm interpreting this correctly, I think Rice 2 was in the ban?
I mean, it was given a little earlier than it was due, so the fact that Spain kind of threw out the ban that early, but that's so weird. Wait, are they changing Rice 2's ban? What?
Well, I mean, it doesn't really make much... Okay, yeah. So Spain's banning Hybrid 2, not Rice 2. So, okay, it was reverted, so it's definitely Angel Dust wasn't banned, so Hong Kong's turn to ban now. I figured Rice Fire should be the smartest thing to do for Hong Kong to ban that one, but EX1 is also that another case. Okay, yeah, there you go. EX1 is the ban for Hong Kong.
Yeah, very sensible ban right there as well. Unfortunately, not going to be seeing one of the hype OC originals that we got for this tournament iteration in general for the 7th Key World Cup. It's unfortunate as it does seem like we are going to be going right into Rise 2 instead.
Alright,
Ghost
so...
is here to hold them.
Yeah, well, this is the densest of all core streams, even if you discounted EX1. But the thing about this is that it's not really so much about density, but I think it's just a stamina check. This only has one break in the middle, and then if you know like every single charts out there, there has been like 2 generous breaks. But apparently, you didn't in this version. You didn't even get one in the last portion of the core stream.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely one of those songs that pretty much everyone and their moms have mapped in the past. I mean, Angel does... You cannot go into this game just thinking, oh, is this song even, like, unknown or anything? Everyone literally knows what this is. This may as well just be the Freedom Dive of Mania, in my personal opinion. But that's up for debate, I guess.
Well, it's a pretty well-known fact at this point, but... Back onto the pick itself, at least in terms of accuracy, it's actually kind of close, knowing Summon and Sensex is actually just about the same accuracy right now. Lucas and Zek is pretty much on 1v1s happening right now, so it's still just about the first portion of the core stream that I was talking about earlier, so we still have quite a bit to go before the first break, really.
Yeah, scores in the center as we do have Zek and Lucas at least duking it out to ensure who can be the one on the top for the time being, as it does look like there's the smallest of favors done for Spain, but it's not enough to mean anything as the scoreline's literally in the middle until Sensex takes the first drop.
Yeah, there goes the first break from Hong Kong there. It's actually just about 99.4. Even though Lucas is actually tanking just about the 99.4, but once we get into the first break of this, we get a clear situation that Spain is not holding a comfortable lead at all still.
Yeah, I think it's just really hard to hold comfortable leads in general when it comes to picks such as these, where you really just need to ensure that you're keeping the best watch of a lot of these core stream patterns that can be really taxing if you are too careful, especially at 170 BPM, where it would be assumed to become a lot difficult, as we do have some faster bursts and double staircases raining down 3,000 points to the margin right now.
Zek taking 200 there, and another break from Hong Kong right there. And this is where actually stamina is on check right now. You don't get any breaks after this, so really just Spain is pretty much on full steam ahead, and there's no breaks after this, so really just you gotta keep going, ongoing and ongoing.
Lucas and Summit are doing what they can to ensure that the score is in the favor of Spain for a good while, considering that there's only really a few seconds left for the map to end. So just by the time they finish this, they finish it off in style with a double full combo, it looks like. 3,000 and almost 700 in combo. That is a bold statement from Spain to make.
3 FCs in the lobby. It's just unfortunate that Sensei wasn't able to carry that performance even to a full combo by themselves. But take it to stock, I think, in terms of ratio. Even they are just similar. I think Sensei and Zek's just about beating out in terms of ratio, but it's just a miscount that I think really what ruins the score difference right now. It would have been really close at that point.
Yeah, I think if not for the 2 misses from Sensex, then the scores on Hong Kong would have been a lot closer, as Zek is literally just sandwiched in between the scores of Lucas and Summit there in particular, as it does look like Hong Kong will be throwing out their Protect in response, looking to try and at least maintain that flow of victories that they have been accumulated since the beginning, just about. So, gonna be interesting to see. Goodbye, Sengen. It's going to have to be the point where Hong Kong is going to have to say goodbye to the nerves that they probably are going to start building up here if this thing doesn't go well.
Like, I wouldn't pick this first. I would have choose LN Inverse first before going to this, but it's if they're feeling comfortable with the density, and I think Spain is just kind of literally just treating this like just like a typical normal core stream or just some kind of burst in between, in which this is just not the case for a lot of cases. It's just the taking into account LN density, which I think Spain definitely has trained for that. Honk is kind of treading on ice playing this in terms of if you were picking like LN4 for example.
Yeah, I mean, while this is pretty much thin ice just being treaded on, Spain, I'd say that the Rise category and the roll skill maps, for example, are definitely treading more on a thin wire across between Mount Everest and then just any other mountain in the world, for example. So I think that's kind of the thing that Spain wants to avoid when it comes to these kinds of picks, where it's pretty much just going to be bound to become close, as we do see a swap out Tong Jinshi coming back in for the Hong Kongers to sport this pick in particular, as it does look like to be in the advantage for Spain for just the time being going into this intro, the first verse, and there's still a lot to happen as it's pretty much equalized for the time being.
The inverse, not really treating Spain very well, but actually Tong Jinshi is the first. That's a dirty drop right there, just about under 98, 99 on middle range there. But Summit trading that out surprisingly, but I mean 99.2. That's a full team wipe from Spain right there. Is now going to the Hong Kong's lead now right now.
Well, Wipeout, that workout almost knocked the Spanish team out, as it's already about 6,000 points in the favor of Hong Kong just going into this course. Looking to be at least a little more confident on that consistency side and the recovery side of things in question, which is going to matter a lot, as Zek is at least waving the Hong Kong flag for the time being, looking to sport that of the white flower that sports the Hong Kongers for the time being, going into the back of the chart for now.
Yeah, just about a 9,000 points of lead, which is not a whole lot to give it out to Spain. Accuracy is not at least on a slight advantage of Hong Kong, but all things considered, it's just on the back of the FC by Zek right now. It's really just what carries the performance through, and Summit takes another drop as well, so that's a 5-digit lead already.
Yeah, I think Zek's pretty much in a state where he pretty much just feels that he can just work anything on this map, because so far the FC is already doing enough justice for Hong Kong as is if it does continue into the ending of the map, as we are going into the guitar solo for this map in particular. 15,000 points is currently remaining as the margin for now, basically just gapping the Spanish for quite a good bit, as there's still a lot of time for anything to happen really. We have seen Jinshi kind of faltering in various parts, but however, they have recovered their game quite a bit as we go into the final course now, where it's gonna have to matter so much here from
it's just the full inverse that really what their strongest suit for Hong Kong, and I think they really don't want to miss any inverses right here, and they carried that the whole way through. So the lead's not changing, and another full team wipe by Spain is really what seals the deal. And it's going to be 4th point for Hong Kong, unless anything bad really happens to one of the FCs that we just shown right here.
Yep. That's a crazy note by Zek. Yep. Suspected. 986k coming out from Zek's mouth of the fingers. Yeah, and that's going to bring it Hong Kong basically 2 points away from just winning the match outright, not looking to at least give up any opportunities to Spain for the time being, as now Spain's pretty much just getting the pressure onto them, applying it like it's just simply another phase of CPR.
Spain still has a few options to do here. The course team worked well, albeit sketchy. But the other pick I think it was Bibidiba, which I think Rise 5. Even though it's not not the most straightforward. Well, I guess it's the more straightforward instead of Rise 6. It's just technically different.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Bibidiba is like kind of the more straightforward technical map, and if you were to put it side by side with Glassy Heart, where Glassy Heart is fully reliant on a lot of these patterns that challenge your discomfort for really kind of abstract visual patterns in question, whereas I think Rise 5 is going to be shelved for later, though, as we do go into Rise 3, the final roll skill Rise map that we got on the board. Gonna be none other than Valkyrie Revolutia, so definitely makes sense to throw this out in response just going off of how Rice 2 went.
Yeah, well, Rest 2 was it was a little bit of a scare. I think even though with FCs for Spain, and I think at least one from Hong Kong. I think it was Zach. I think they got an FC as well. So it's just in terms of, well, the difficulty is not really that much of a rise in terms of that. It's just the speed requirement. And well, 207 BPM is definitely a much speedier in terms of BPM, but it's also comfortable enough. So it's just a matter of sharpshooting more than most.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's kind of the intention that most teams would have when picking something like Valkyrie in general, because of the fact that, granted, it's the most dense course map that we'll have in this map pool, ignoring EX1 for just a moment. Sorry, my pronunciation is just not at this good state. Oh my god.
It's fine. I guess at least though, if Spain definitely does win, they still have one more option to do, but it kind of sets into motion that Hong Kong's pick will be either the EX2 or the other hybrids, which are also viable, or even Allied Inverse. But that's a conversation for another time here, knowing that Core Stream, as far as thing goes, they should go into Spain if they play their cards correctly in terms of accuracy.
Yeah, conversation for literally just 2 minutes time, as so far is going to be introductory for both these teams, just going right into the nitty-gritty of the patterns in general. Just a lot of bracket streams that we got, and they're really dense at this speed, as well as Spain is going to be eking out an early advantage going into this halftime section where you're basically just playing Suedo chord jacks in the form of a jump stream chart, essentially in 7 key.
Well, so far it's looking at least decent enough of a lead, knowing the accuracy is at least superior in terms of, well, I guess in terms of 1v1, even though that's not really saying much, knowing that Lucas 99.8 and something that at least 0.04% ahead of Sensex and Zek.
There's not really much that Spain can do besides from at least trying to maintain that score lead to where it is, because the minute you let go of the keyboard, then things are definitely going to start heading south for the Spanish here. That's something they do not want to afford in a match like this, where their life in this tournament is on the line. If it does come down to the FCs on Hong Kong so far, things are going to be insanely difficult, because nobody can blink going into this final four, as it's 4,000 points of margin for the time being. We see minuscule accuracy drops just coming left and right.
We're still at a 4 FC's pace right now. This is scary.
Yeah. Oh, but there's still some minor accuracy drops coming from Hong Kong. This is probably it, unless we see a miss come out right now.
4 FCs in the entire lobby. That is all. Just all bets are off, really. It's just the FCs that has the much better accuracy, and Spain got that in the bag.
Bro, Lucas's score 9-9 free K. You are an absolute freak. I'm sorry.
4 is still 1 point down though, so they're not really given time to relax either. So they have to plan their next pick carefully, and there's only one Rice pick remaining out of that. Hong Kong has options to deal with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think at this point, it's pretty much safe to say you can opt in for something like LN4 if you really gotta get a point right here, in which, understanding the position of Hong Kong, you're just about 1 point away from making it match points. So you may as well just try and get one of your advantageous picks out of the way. Just try and secure it as quick as possible, because Spain is literally just catching up to their tail right now. And as I say that, the L4 comes right from Zach.
After this point, there are no regular LN picks left for Hong Kong, at least. All they have is Hybrid 1 and the rest of the EX picks that are not Rice. So they still got options to deal with. But Spain, on the other hand, is a little bit on the rough spot to pick, right? Even though they have Rice 5 at their disposal.
Absolutely. I mean, Celestial Intertwine is basically the Rice 6 equivalent within the long note category, just given how the patterns in this chart specifically are just so hard to just coordinate and control to the best of your ability. I mean, especially expected from Elliot Hitsu's songs in general. They're pretty interesting within the BMS sphere as far as the eye can see. So this is going to be a bit of an interesting pick, and I guess at this point, this is going to be a bit of a strong pick from Hong Kong. But Spain could definitely catch up to them at any point, given when is necessary.
I don't know if my mind is saying things, but either Spain is happy about this pick, which I think they should have, because if this is comfortable for them to take a break plan out of this, then we're all down. At least just to take things to a deadlock at that point. But knowing that this is also an inverse chart, not fully inverse, mind you, there's still some notably longer gaps in the inverse that you really can't just have to hold LNs and then releasing them like you would normally expect them to do.
Yeah. It's really just down to a lot of these patterns as Summit does take the first drop and another one to really top things up. That's going to be a double drop for coming from Spain first thing into this round of picks in general, where we're approaching the end game of the match and Hong Kong is at least looking to try and prevent tiebreakers similar to what they had experienced last week, as Tang Jinxi does take a miss first thing for Hong Kong.
Tang Jinxi releasing late. I think overholding some of these might have just closing the gap even further. And Spain, on the other hand, is stabilizing a little bit better than what I was expecting here. Even though Zach is the one main carry to expect from, even though there's also Lucas to tackle.
And while you do have Lucas to tackle in this scenario, you also have to tackle the likes of Summit, in which they do find a drop going into this transition, not looking as entirely confident as the people in Hong Kong may be, or at least Zek for that matter, as it does look like that's just going to punctuate the scoreline for the side of Hong Kong for just a bit longer going into the back of the chart, where it's going to start mattering a lot, as Zek is the saving grace for Hong Kong.
There goes
right
FC
now.
from Lucas. There goes FC from Lucas. So Hong Kong still has one remaining, and even Tang Jinxi has recovered very nicely after that. I think they have figured it out how to release late here, so it's just the lead. Yeah, well, Zek also dropped as well, but, well, Tang Jinxi also dropped as well, but even then the lead is just pretty much stays the where it is.
Yeah, pretty much a solid lead for the time being, and I doubt that's going to really change anytime soon if it does come down to assuming Lucas and Summit are probably going to continue going down into the deep end with their scores in general. Even Zach can pretty much just bleed as many misses as they want. However, in the grand scheme of things, there's pretty much not enough time to allow things to just simply go into the favor of Spain for this pick, unfortunately for them. 30,000 points is the difference that makes Hong Kong close to victory here.
Safe lead there, 30,000. Knowing the L inverse can do to you is just pretty much a battle of wits in terms of accuracy and whatnot. But Hong Kong is at match point right now, so they still have a room to wiggle around with their picks. Spain, on the other hand, doesn't have much room to do with it. They're gonna have to go with Rise 5. Anything else is just very bold.
Absolutely. I think at this point, Rise 5 is literally the only option Spain can go for right now. It's the closest you could go to Rise 6, and is therefore the most cynical Rise pick you can go for, considering that you have nothing else to go for. Rise 5 does get the pick. Bibbit the ball. We can throw any other option for the time being. Spain is going to have to use this as their best ability. They have nothing else to lose besides from their position in the World Cup if they want to at least make it into the semifinals bracket.
No Rice picks remaining, so if Spain does win this, Hong Kong has to pick their poison between the other 2 EX picks remaining or just the hybrid one, which is straightforward enough, but it also carries a dangerous precision that Spain could even take the hybrid one in that case.
Absolutely. I mean, especially with a map like Bibidaba in this map pool, for example, it's a map that really relies heavily on burst control and transition work that Spain is definitely more than capable of, especially knowing how they even got over something like Rise 6 to begin with. But even then, the fatigue and the nerves are probably going to start wearing on them right now because their backs are literally against the wall. It's all or nothing for the side of Spain, as Hong Kong only has one pick left to win. The match point is going to certainly wear on their heads for quite the time coming.
I like how every single thing about Mania is that technical picks are just severely underrated from where we are. Even the star rating doesn't really say a whole lot of it. It has been all the time, in all cases, is just always the lowest star rating. But as you can see, 4.97 doesn't really translate very well, is it? If the accuracy is actually just tanking all the left and right.
Well, yeah, I mean, especially with maps like this, it's pretty much volatile in the sense that pretty much anyone is just bound to start choking anywhere of the field, as Sensex and Zek does drop, and Summit is the only FC remaining on the board right now. We do have one for the lobby just missing. However, Lucas does recover as best as they can, and Summit is literally reaching the literal summit of performances right now with the accuracy, at least evening out with Lucas and making for a very consistent team score right now. That's going to be really hard to beat if it does not come down to misses.
22,000 point of lead, which is quite sizable for at least in the middle portion of the chart. And the rest of the chart just pretty much stays like this. And it really plays to their strengths, knowing Rise 6 has been pretty much solid as a pick overall. And it's just really what shines for at least both the Spanish players right here.
Absolutely. At this point, you're basically just challenging Hong Kong to the scariest dance that you probably would have gone into. Summit is going to find a miss. That's not going to mean anything for now, but Lucas just needs to try and carry the Spanish to the forefront for at least just a bit. A miss comes out from them, however. But Summit is literally close to the combo cap, as there's still a full recovery from Hong Kong. This could definitely be close. Yeah, this is
dangerous. Lucas dropping to 9.4. There's another drop, but pointed out by Zek here. So at least not going anywhere at this point. But Summit does another drop.
Wait,
actually,
3 seconds.
We're still at the point
2,400 points.
2.5k being decided by this. It's still very dangerous as a pick, but Spain can breathe a sigh of relief that they're not going without a fight.
Thankfully for them, it only took 2,400 points to be able to make a difference, as now they've run out of all the necessary picks that they had in store. All it comes down to is Hong Kong's pick, which they need to force a breakpoint from in particular, and Hong Kong has a lot of good options remaining on the board. It's either Hybrid 1, but even that is too risky. I think at this point, they may as well just wing it and go for EX2, in my opinion. What do you think about me?
Well, EX2, it works well knowing that they have won every single element pick that we've just shown so far. It's just whether or not Hong Kong is able to handle the physicality of EX2. It's the matter of whether or not they are well equipped to handle burst in EX2, which is one of the main issue with I think Hong Kong has to do, because I think the burst in EX2, EX2 is the pick for Hong Kong, so they're leaving out Hybrid 1 and EX3 being ignored.
Yeah, I definitely feel like it makes sense to ignore EX3 considering that it's as hard as the tiebreaker, and knowing Hong Kong, I think most people would assume that at first Hong Kong seems relatively viable to go into the tiebreaker sport in terms of physicality, because the tiebreaker in general is something that's going to be absolutely hellish for anyone to go into, as we've literally seen nobody at least tread upon that besides from just almost Indonesia and Japan before that EX3 pick came about. So this one is going to really spell a lot of different factors for the side of Spain, which is going to matter so much if they want to at least make history for their own country here.
The big question here, are they gonna get this or not? Because Spain is really on pretty much on death row if they're not gonna being able to get this, because the tiebreaker is abound if Spain is able to get this.
Yep. There's only really about 2 minutes to be able to bleed anything, and this is going to be serving as one of the riskiest maps in the entire map pool. It's really just, you got to do it as best as you can in
that's a bad start from Zek.
But yeah, that bad start from Zek is already going to give it up for Spain for just a bit, unless we see more misses coming out from them in response. Ooh.
There's a trade on the top row. Summit is left. So what it really transpires is that the accuracy from the intro on Hong Kong is not doing really any favors here. But Summit is also the last person to drop as well. So there's no at least no FCs. But score lead is really not changing all that much, knowing the accuracy is tanking left and right.
Literally, it's gonna be absolutely dire for both these teams going into this final pick. And contrary to what the song is, this is perhaps one of the happiest songs you can get in the entire map pool. Hong Kong is happy about
Watch
their
the
position.
inverse.
Yeah.
Watch those inverses. It can snap back in a second. Lucas, the purpose of the drop on the the denser LN section, even the inverse right here. Just about around 10,000 point lead, give or take, I think, for Hong Kong. Tang Jisoo loses it out again. Lucas, all the lobby reset.
Full team wipeout right here for everyone on the board. However, Hong Kong still has the edge of the stick, just as better as Spain could afford for the time being. And right now it's pushing about 20,000 points. It's going to be really hard for Spain to recover that if it does not come down. So this is from Hong Kong, or at least in accuracy is taking the helm of the driver's wheel for the side of Hong Kong as they're looking to try and prevent a potential upset. Tang Jinshi going to be missing, and so does Zek as well. A combo reset comes out, but unfortunately that's too clean to mean anything. Just going into the final 30 seconds of the map.
Last 10 seconds to go. This is really what spells. Yeah, this is a curtain's call there for Spain. Summit has taken another drop as well, and looks like Hong Kong's denying the chance of a tiebreaker. They're winning 6-4 against Spain, and Hong Kong will be moving on to the semifinals bracket by the skin of their teeth as well, knowing this LM pick is not safe by any means.
Absolutely. Hong Kong just basically pulled out at the best moment that they could have had, not allowing the Ghost of Thailand to hold them for any longer as they make it through to the semifinals losers bracket to face against the likes of the United States. That's going open for a crazy match over there. Oh my goodness.
Hong Kong has done so well to get through this far, even though the semifinals is also their well, the semifinal is the last spot, at least on the top 12 or top 8 on the last year, and they're trying to pull that one again, and maybe possibly even further if the matchup does end well in their favor. Also, commiserations there for Spain to at least getting some semblance of a tiebreaker going, but unfortunately, it was not their day.
Yeah, especially with the fact that Spain has pulled a lot of efforts to ensure that they could at least reach close to the summit of getting that tiebreaker in general and forcing it against the likes of Hong Kong. That definitely could have spelt a difference if had it come to that scenario alone. But unfortunately, that is only for an alternative reality, as we are going to be witnessing Hong Kong win through the quarterfinals bracket, and that is going to round it off for our weekend of quarterfinals as matches. Unless, well, we see something from Germany and Canada, as that match is still ongoing on the mainstream, I feel, or I think.
Yeah. I think you meant Hong Kong went to semifinals, but regardless of after everything there, Germany versus Canada are still ongoing, and I think apparently it's still at just about a kind of a deadlock. I think the scoreline is reached like 3-4, and I think the match is still ongoing. So even then, that's the last 2 matches that we're actually going to be seeing, because all that's left is just the showcase of the semifinals map pool. So it's really a kind of an exciting one, because for me personally, it's been pretty much a kind of a well hyped up around, because map pool showcase has always been the map pool in general.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Semifinals is where things are going to really start coming down. And as I can see right now, it does look like Canada is already getting to match point on Germany. And you definitely don't want to miss what's going on over on the mainstream just to see the real end of the quarterfinals weekend in general. And mind I say, there is something that I've actually been considering recently going into this quarterfinals weekend. You know what that actually is, Mifa? Because I'm kind of lost on that part.
Oh, actually, this is actually interesting to me, because for what it's worth, you know, we got banners that are coming forward there from the O store right now, so you can check out the banners as well. So be sure to look out and purchase the banners that we see. There are 32 of them. You can see the crazy armor that has been going on, and I think most of them have been pretty worked very hard to reach to that point, so you can even purchase multiples of them. So really, if the winning team banner is up in the air for the winning to the 7 key World Cup 2026, you get to keep the winning team banner for a much longer time. So pretty much support your favorite teams out there as well.
Absolutely. Only $2.50 to be able to pay off for a single banner. You can buy as many as you want, and if it does come down to your favorite team winning first place in the entire 7K World Cup this year, you get to keep the banner for an entire year. So if you pick it to someone like, South Korea, because, they've won or something, that could probably be a potential option. But you can ultimately choose the one you want to support, as there is so many teams remaining going into this round of the semifinals, and there's just so many good teams out there to support. So, may as well just spend some money to support whoever you need. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, all proceeds will definitely go helping out at our prize pool as well. So definitely one of the best ways to support that is through the banners as well. So go check out the O store right now. But for now, I think we're probably moving on to the A stream and just to watch the match unfold. Maybe we can get a tiebreaker, for in a long while ever since like round of 32. So yeah, stay tuned for that. So we get moving on to A stream. So take care and see you on the next match.